Okay, for finding slope on these, what you're going to need to know is that the slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And those sub 2 and sub 1 there just basically are identifiers. They don't mean anything, they don't do anything. They're just telling you which one you're talking about. And so for the first one here, we have 2 points, negative 2, 3, and 1, negative 1, 0. Order here does not matter. Labeling does. So I'm going to call that x1 and y1. I'm going to call that x2 and y2. Now they have names, and so I can put them in the formula appropriately. So we'll always start with the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I like to teach students to put this template up here first because this will prevent mistakes that are made with negative signs. And so y2 minus y1 is going to be 0 minus 3. Because y2 is 0, y1 is 3. The order which we do this doesn't matter. I could have put the other point first and named it. I could have made this point x1 and y1 and it would still work. Then this point would be x2 and y2. Order does not matter as long as we use the formula correctly. So x2 minus x1 is negative 1 minus negative 2. Those two negatives are going to turn into a positive. So I have negative 1 plus 2. So our slope here ends up being negative 3 over 1. Lots of people are tempted to turn that into just a number 3. When we're talking about slope, we should always leave it as a fraction. So the answer here should be negative 3 over 1. On to number 2. This process is going to be exactly the same for all of them. I could pick either point to go first. This time I will do 3, 1. Negative 2, negative 2, negative 3. x1, y1, x2, y2. Put it in the formula. Again, draw the fraction bar first with the minus signs so you prevent yourself from making silly mistakes with negatives. Negative 3, minus 1, negative 2, minus 3. Negative 4 over negative 5. Two negatives divided by each other would make this positive, so that is equal to positive 4 over 5. And then the third one there, it is a horizontal line, so we can see right off the bat the slope is going to be 0. If we were to do the slope formula, that would prove that for us. So negative 2, 3, and 3, 3. x1, y1, x2, y2, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Fraction bar with minus signs in there, 3 minus 3, and then 3 minus negative 2. Those two negatives are going to become a plus sign. We'll have 3 minus 3 is 0 over 5, which is equivalent to 0. This is what we said at the beginning. Number 4 through 15, the process is going to be exactly the same, you just don't have a graph. So 6, 3, and 7, negative 4. x1, y1, x2, y2, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Again, fraction bar with minus signs already in there, so we don't mess any of that up. Negative 4 minus 3, 7 minus 6. Negative 7 over 1. And I will leave that answer as a fraction. I will not change it to be negative 7. I'll do a couple more of these and then I will show you a website that you can put them into to check your work. The process on all of these is going to be identical. So I'll pause there so you can, I'll wait here for a moment so you can pause it if you need to before I move on. Number 5, we have negative 9, negative 3, and negative 7, negative 5, x1, y1, x2, y2, again y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Put the template together, but the minus sign's already in there, so we don't make a mistake. Negative 5 minus negative 3, negative 7 minus negative 9. Both of those double negatives are going to become positive. Negative 2 over positive 2, which is equal to negative 1 over 1. Again, I would not provide my answer as a whole number. I always leave slope as a fraction personally. Okay, number 6. 6, negative 2. And 5, negative 4. x1, y1, x2, y2. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Put the negatives in first. Negative 4 minus negative 2. 5 minus 6. Those double negatives turn into a plus. Negative 2 over negative 1, which is equivalent to positive 2 over 1. Again, I will leave that as a fraction, not as a decimal. Through 13, those will all be pretty easy, and I will show you a website right now that you can use to help you sort of navigate that and check your work. The website is wolframalpha.com. This is the world's most powerful calculator. And what I would do for number 7 is just say, what is the slope between 7 and negative 4 and 4, 8. I would not have this do my homework for me. I would do my work and then use this to check. It's saying that the slope there would be negative 4. So, and then it shows me the points, 4, 8, and 7, negative 4. It also tells me what the y-intercept and the x-intercept are. But also, you could probably use ChatGPT. Let's make a new chat here. What is the slope between 7, negative 4, and 4, 8? It's going to describe how to do it, similar to what I'm doing, y2 minus y1. It's going to get negative 4, just like Wolfram did. ChatGPT might actually be a better resource for this because it's going to walk you through all the steps for that right there. With that, I am going to jump down to number 14 and 15. I will do those because I recognize that those do look a little bit wacky and unique. I hate wacky and unique problems, so let's take care of that for you. Number 14. Again, I would not use ChatGPT or Wolfram to do the work for you. I would use it to check your work. So 0.2 and negative 0.9 and 0.5 and negative 0.9. So we can see here the y values are the same. That means that this thing is going to be undefined because the slope is going to be 0 because the numerator of this fraction is going to end up being 0. We'll see that in a moment. x1, y1, x2, y2, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Draw your fraction bar with your minus signs first. 0.9 minus a negative. Oh, it's negative 0.9. Yes, on both of them. We missed the negative sign on the second one. Okay. And then 0.5 minus 0.2. The two negatives together are going to turn into a plus. That makes the numerator 0. And we have 0.3 in the denominator. That means this has a slope of 0. I'm going to pause here before moving on and see if we're positive. 15. Again, the process is the same no matter what, even if we have fractions. So 7 over 3 and 4 over 3 and negative 1/3, 2/3, x1, y1, x2, y2, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. y2 is 2/3, y1 is 4/3, negative 1/3, 7/3. 2/3 minus 4/3 is going to be negative 2/3 over negative 1/3 minus 7/3 is going to be negative 8/3. This would not be an acceptable answer because a compound fraction should never be used to represent a slope. What this is really saying is negative 2/3 divided by negative 8/3. When we divide fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal. So negative 2/3 times 3 over 8. Negative 3 over 8. We get positive 6 over 24. And if we divide both of those by 6, to simplify the fraction, we get positive 1 over 4. Let's do exactly what I'm encouraging you to do. I'm going to pause here so you can, if you need this. I'm going to use ChatGPT to test and see if I did that correctly. So, slope between 7/3, 4/3, and negative 1/3, 2/3. We'll go ahead and do the formula for me. Gets 1/4, just like I did. So we ended up doing that correctly. So, again, this is not a tool to do the work for you. It's a tool for you to use to check your work. I'll go ahead and make a separate video for 16 through 23.